right, cool. We'll go ahead and get started here now. Um, my name is TJ. I'm the marketing manager here at Learn. Welcome to our virtual open house. This is our way of being able to show you how our virtual classroom operates here online, from the day to day all the way from the morning to the end. We're joined here by our couple other members of our Learn Academy staff. We have Sarah and Rachel, who are part of our instruction staff. Then we have Andy as well, who's as part of our instruction staff. And I think that's about it. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give it off to the instructors who are going to walk you through, why we're here for the virtual open house.
Awesome. Thanks, TJ. Let me share my screen with you guys. All right, just gonna get my Zoom screen situated here. Give me just a moment. Great. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to our virtual classroom. Like most of the world, we moved from being an in-person full-time boot camp in March of this year. When we were moving to a virtual classroom, it was really important for us to recreate that in-person experience as much as possible. We've always been we've always modeled ourselves after the work environment. It's a job that you show up to every day from 9 to 5. And so while technically we are offering an online class, it's not an online class in the way that I typically think of an online class. We have a very set schedule. Like I said, we're in class every day from 9 to 5 and Pacific time. We take an hour for lunch, and that's our day. We spend our day together in a Zoom meeting. And our program is 16 weeks long, but we spend 12 weeks together in the classroom. And during that time, we do our best to just pack in as much content into the day as we absolutely possibly can. We do coding lectures and pair programming challenges, as well as having guest speakers. We do interview prep. We do team building activities and just like other fun learning exercises. And so we try and take up as much of those 12 weeks and learn as much as we can together in that time. So with that, we're not a self-paced class. We're definitely we are together learning and moving on the track that we offer at Learn. We do have the ability to mold our schedule to fit the needs of our students, and we bake in flex days to be able to review if we need to be able to have individual time to work on things like portfolios. But other than that, we have a pretty set schedule, and we are a full-time 9 to 5. So we do require that our students attend class every day and be present, in our classroom from 9 to 5 every day. And Learn is a web development boot camp. It was San Diego's first web development boot camp. We're a full-time immersive program, and we specialize in career transitioners. So basically that means we are teaching to adults who have careers that are not in web development, who would like to be in web development. And we teach a full stack curriculum, meaning that we teach our students how to build web applications. And so if we're thinking about a web application versus a web page, the major difference to me is, does the user log in to the thing that you've created? So a web page to me is something that displays information. So if I went to a restaurant web page, I could see the menu and I could see the hours of operation, and maybe I could send them an email, but mostly it's just static information that I as a user can see. A web application would maybe be something like Zoom, where I can log in, I can create an account, I can schedule meetings that are specific to me. And because Zoom stores that information for me, that's a little bit more of a complex application. And ultimately, that's the type of thing that we teach at Learn, is a full stack. But our mission at Learn is a lot bigger than just teaching people to be full stack developers. Our ultimate goal is to build and strengthen and diversify the tech community in San Diego. And so we like to host meetups, and this is one of them because we get to show off and share our space with you guys. And at Learn, we try, and our goal is to, oops, sorry, too many. Our goal is to create an inclusive and brave space. A brave space is somewhere where people can be comfortable expressing ideas, challenging each other in a positive way, and that we're all here ultimately to learn. We never want to disparage or cause any harm. And we consider these meetups an extension of our classroom, and we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make our meetups in our classroom space a positive experience for anybody who's here. So just on the extremely rare off chance that any of the participants in our meetups or anyone who is attending our classroom violates the inclusivity of our brave space, if you're using profane language or insulting other people, using images that are inappropriate, we will remove that person from our meeting and report that person if necessary. And I just want to put that out there. So because this is a public Zoom link, that we've created that space in our classroom, we invite you to join us, assuming that we're all here with the intent of being positive and learning together. So hopefully we can enjoy our space and learn some cool stuff and have some fun. So our goal here is to walk you through what our day looks like at Learn. So I kind of want to talk about some of the things that we do every day, kind of highlight what our day looks like in a virtual classroom. So I'm just going to kind of talk through the process a little bit, and then we invite you to join us on a mini version of our day. So our day starts typically with doing a check-in. So we all join our Zoom meeting at 9 o'clock, we start our day. With check-in, it's meant to mimic a dev company's stand-up. So if you worked for a dev team, you would typically get together with your team and talk about how you're doing on whatever task you're working on. And so for our classroom, we do check-in, but we model it a little bit differently. So we get together in the morning, and we put like a silly question in chat, and everybody has the opportunity to go around the room, virtual room, and say 3 things. One is that you answer the question. 2 is that you have a chance to tell everyone how you're doing. This, like, sometimes in the morning you're like, oh, like I'm struggling to wake up, like still coffee hasn't kicked in yet, like still shaking off the morning. And you know, I'm here, I'm trying, but I'm definitely a little tired. Some days you're like, man, I'm just like raring to go, like super excited, ready to rock. And saying this, you know, in the presence of everyone kind of gives people the opportunity to empathize with each other. It's like, all right, like we can all see that like maybe we're on different pages this morning, and we can be a little more patient with each other. So get to answer the silly question, get to tell everyone how we're feeling. And then we finish up the check-in for each person by saying the words checking in. And this leads to kind of why we do check-in. So we're all working from home. Like, I mean, I'm in my bedroom right now. You guys are probably in your living rooms or whatever. Same thing with most of our students, is that we're all working from a home space. And sometimes that line can be difficult to draw between what's being at home and what's being at work or at school. And so checking in and saying you're checking in is kind of our way of asking you to like separate from the world and be present with us in the classroom. It's kind of a cool way to just like start your day by shifting your state of mind into the learning environment. So we typically do check-in, and then we start our lesson for the day. For our lesson, there's a lecture component. Sometimes we'll do some other fun learning activities, like we play a game called Kahoot that we're gonna do today. And we have the opportunity to do like little fun challenges, and as we're learning vocabulary words and concepts. Lectures include a live coding demonstration from myself, Rachel, or Andy as the instruction team. And we walk you through the concepts of the things you're going to learn and show you a build out of an example of the kind of challenges that you're going to see for the day. From there, we go into you guys all doing the challenges. All of our students have the opportunity to pair program with another student to work on the challenges that are set in our syllabus. And to do that in a virtual environment, we use a part of the Zoom functionality called breakout rooms. So we're able to actually create like sub meetings from this room, and we put pairs into those rooms. And within there, you're able to chat with your team and talk about the problem at hand. And then the two of you work together to solve the challenge. Instructors are able to drop in and out. We're able to communicate through Zoom or through Slack, which is a communication device we use regularly in the classroom. And we're able to like jump in if you guys need help. You can also come and join us in the main room and ask questions if you'd like, and we're able to work through those challenges together. So typically we alternate between lectures and coding challenges throughout the majority of the day. And then when we get to the end of the day, we do check out, kind of the reverse of our check-in. We usually like to reflect on what we learned today, how everything went. If there's any like lingering questions or anything that we can help you with at the end of the day, it's our chance to just see how things were. And then after that, we release you for the day at 5 o'clock. We use Slack to communicate scheduling and events that are happening, as well as posting the Zoom link for the class for the following day. And so our students are able to kind of see what's on the docket for the next day in Slack, and then we meet back in the morning at 9 o'clock. So that's kind of our plan. So we wanted to invite you to kind of do a mini day with us. So with that, I would love it if we could all do a check-in together. Give me just a moment, and our check-in question is here, but then I think I will just reading your names in the in the Zoom chat. I'm just gonna put them in order of how I see you all. Oh, can I see everyone's names? Sorry. I think I'll stop sharing for this, and I will add this to our Zoom chat just so that we can see each other in a more clear view. I don't like the view that I'm seeing when I'm sharing my screen. It's limiting, I think, for everybody. So we will do the question, what is something you could talk about for 10 minutes if someone just put you on the spot and said, hey, you have to talk about something for 10 minutes. So I'm gonna let Rachel start us off, and then I will add a list to our Zoom chat, and we can go in order as soon as I get everyone's names typed. But in the meantime, Rachel, why don't you model for us how checking goes? Uh-oh, maybe.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself now.
Hello. Okay, 10 minutes. I'm not going to talk for 10 minutes right now, but something I could talk about for 10 minutes. Gosh. I could probably talk about how to camp for free on public lands. All the strategies for like finding campsites and all of the rules about how it all works, how far away from a road you need to camp, the rules about fires and like packing in and packing out. So I could probably do that for 10 minutes. I'm feeling a little bit tired because it is a little bit later in the day. We also already worked a full workday today. I'm sure some people are already in that boat with us. But yeah, otherwise feeling pretty good, and I am checking in.
Yay, hi Rachel.
All right, well, if I could go on for 10 minutes, I could probably talk 10 minutes about Destiny 2, about strategies in that game and how hunters are the masterclass, everything. Yeah, I could go on for a very long time, much longer than 10 minutes, probably 10 hours, honestly. But yeah, a little tired, but feeling good. Checking in, or checking out. Checking in?
We're checking in.
Cool.
Right, Jeremy. Yeah, I think everyone should be able to unmute themselves, right, TJ?
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So one thing that I could talk about for 10 minutes is probably skateboarding and all the brands associated with it, different kinds of skateboarders, street skateboarders, vert skateboarders, older ones, newer ones, things like that. And I guess I'm feeling pretty good today. And it's me checking in.
Great. Awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, 10 whole minutes. I would say I got, like 2 weeks ago, I got the Valve Index, the new VR rig, and it's so much fun. Hours wasted, no buyer's remorse whatsoever, and could easily talk about that for 10 minutes. I'm doing good today. Got off work pretty quick and got home and been relaxing ever since, and I am checking in.
Great, welcome. Daniel.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
Hello. I'm Daniel. I guess one thing I could talk about for 10 minutes. I guess is music, because I'm more musically inclined. So I guess music, particularly classical music. I could keep going on about it. Otherwise, my day's been going pretty good. Nothing's been going on. Mostly just staying at home and relaxing. That's about it.
Great, welcome.
Is there anyone else?
Mohammed. Oh, that's right. You did that. Do you want to, if you want to check in via chat, that would be great. Maybe just tell us something that you could talk about for 10 minutes.
Is there someone there?
I think he's gonna add it in chat. He mentioned that he's having some audio and video difficulties. So yeah, Vivian, go ahead.
10 minutes. Well, checking in, 10 minutes. I could talk about, I just love how human brain works and like attitude, how turning negative situation into more positive. I can talk about it for hours. I love that stuff.
Great. TJ.
Cool. I'd probably go with music as well, as Daniel said. I used to DJ in a past life, so I could talk about house music for days, DJ equipment for days, just that whole scene for a while. Or cooking. I love to cook. My day's been going pretty well as well. Like the rest of the Learn staff, we had a great day at Learn. We've had a lot of great events past this whole week and Saturday, so it's been a good run. So checking in.
Yay. Well, I'll finish this up here. I mean, of course I could talk about programming and coding for way more than 10 minutes, and I do that pretty often, but outside of that, that's kind of cheating. I could talk about Sherlock Holmes for a long time, of like what, like all the intricacies of the plot lines and like what's canon versus like what's not, and like different takes of like, you know, remakes and like which ones are good and which ones aren't, and like the interesting revitalization. So I could talk about that for 10 minutes for sure. And I'm feeling good today. We had a good day at work and busy, so definitely feeling the end of the day, but feeling great, and I'm super excited to meet all of you. So checking in. All right. So now as we're moving into the lecture portion, I do want to play a quick game with you all. We use, has anyone ever played Kahoot? We typically use Kahoot. Like we'll create our own and do like coding based questions, and it's super fun. It's a great like way to have a good time with like learning vocabulary words. But just for our purposes, we found one with just like very random trivia, so we wanted to play that. It does require either you opening an additional browser tab or using your cell phone. So if you're using your cell phone, which I will be using, you can go to kahoot.it, and I will share my screen so that you can see what that looks like. Oh, thanks, Rachel. It also comes with an amazing soundtrack. So if that's too loud or it interferes, let me know. All right. Does anyone, I feel like we're missing one. Does someone need more time?
Yeah, I'm almost done. Your plan.
Okay, we ready? $11 questions for this one. Of course it is. I really wanted it to be a murder. All right. Oh, Andy coming in hot. I mean, like, look at this picture. I just feel like there's got to be 4. Awesome. Oh, you're just making a run for it.
I only know this from working at Vans.
I know this from crossword puzzles. This is a popular one.
Oh.
Nice.
I love that one of the options is plastic tip.
Right? I mean, that just makes sense.
It gave you the answer. It is a plastic.
Like, that's obviously it. Oh man. One. Wow. All right.
Crazy.
I call Andy. I call you.
He's on fire. I thought it was a murder. Oh, crows? Right. Ravens. Nice. Andy, you're coming with that strong lead. Which is so gross. Oh man, 13 seconds. Have you guys ever seen Chicken Run? I disagree. Oh man. Oh, that was a harsh one.
Ooh,
Jeremy, coming up hot.
got upset.
That was.
Ooh, Sarah. Dang.
I feel like they probably should have specified, like, because isn't it in half, not just like folded? Oh, I still got it wrong. Woo! Andy. Jeremy coming in with the win. Nice. That was fun. All right. Cool. So typically we don't just do random trivia questions. We do ones that are more coding related, but it is something that we use quite a bit. In our classroom, we'll do a Kahoot at the beginning of the week with like all of the information that we're going to cover throughout the week. And so it'll be just like people are just like guessing, or like maybe if they've researched a little bit ahead of time, but usually everyone gets most of the stuff wrong. And then we'll do it at the end and like everyone just like kills it. So it's kind of a fun way to like measure progress. So we like Kahoots, they're a good time. But for now, we are going to move into a little lecture phase. So Rachel is actually going to teach you a little stuff about coding.
Hi, everybody. So today we're going to do a little lecture on how to create some code that will run inside of your browser that will kind of interact with you a little bit. So we won't go super in depth with any one particular piece of this code today, just because we have such an accelerated amount of time we need to get through it. But all of the pieces will be there, and we should, by the end of it, have a little bit of a program that will allow you to interact with your browser. So let's get into it. Just give me 1 second. Cool. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a new tab here. And you can do this on any website as long as you're in Google Chrome. So does anybody not have Google Chrome on their computer? Actually, yeah, raise your hand if you don't have Google Chrome on your computer.
Mozilla works too, but Safari does not.
Cool. Seems like everybody's good though. So, excuse me, as long as you're in Google Chrome, you'll have access to this little area where we're going to write our code. And what this is called is the Chrome Developer Tools, and sometimes more specifically referred to as the Chrome Console. And it's just a place where you can kind of write some JavaScript, which is one of the languages that we teach here at Learn. And today we're going to be working on a small JavaScript program. So the way that you get to your Chrome console is you right click anywhere on the page and you hit the word inspect. I'm actually going to move my console because I kind of prefer it to be on the bottom. And just fair warning, my dogs might or might not start barking in the middle of this, but that's just kind of normal. But I'll mute because it's really loud. Anyway, so when you go into the Chrome console, the first thing that you see is this tab here called Elements. And the elements here actually represent all of the elements on the page. So I can actually see all of the HTML markup of Google at this moment. So as I go through and highlight, I can see what all of the little tags are that make up all of the pieces of Google, which is kind of fun. But today we're not going to be dealing with elements, but it is kind of a fun thing to be aware of, that you can go through and check out all the tags that exist on any given web page on Chrome. But what we are going to be working on is this tab here called Console. I'm going to move this up. Oops, let me get on that one. I'd like to not be selecting anymore. Oh, it's so finicky. Okay, and I'm just going to move this up so you guys can see. So inside of this console, I can do some JavaScript. JavaScript is really cool. It can do math for us. So I can do 13 plus 45 and get 58. I can do division and get some fractional numbers. Division in this case is a slash mark. I can do multiplication, which in JavaScript is the what we call splat, which I think is a very cute name for that because it kind of looks like you threw spaghetti sauce at the wall. So we have a splat to work with our multiplication. Subtraction, of course, is what you would expect. And then we have another fun one called the modulo that basically returns to you the remainder of a division operation. So if I was to divide 80 by 2, the remainder would be 0. And the way that I can do that is with the percent sign. So 80 mod or modulo 2 is equal to 0. Whereas 81 modulo 2 would be equal to 1. So these are just some ways that you can interact with JavaScript here in your console with math. It's kind of fun. The mod or modulo is really cool for trying to figure out if numbers are even or odd. I'd say that's the top most used option for checking for odd or even. So just some cool things that you can do. The other thing is that you can assign values to specific containers that you can go back to later and refer to. So the way that we characterize those containers is through something called a variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable and I'm going to name it so that I can refer back to it at a later point in my program. The way that I declare a variable is with the keyword of var, and then I give it a name. I give it something that I can call back to later. So I'm going to create a variable called my age, and I'm going to say I'm 50. And I hit enter, and now there's like a little container within my program called my age that holds this value of 50 that I can go back to and refer to later. So when I hit my age, I get 50. And I can keep typing that, and I keep getting this returned value that I've assigned to it. So how does that sound so far? Variables, different little things that we can do with JavaScript. Great. So to build on top of that, we're going to use this variable, not necessarily my age, but we're going to use the concept of a variable to create something called a function. And a function is just the same as, you know, my age or any other variable that you would create, where it's just a bit of information that we can call on later in JavaScript to run some sort of functionality. So to clear this so that I can kind of not have anything muddying up my view is I can hit this little circle with the slash through it and it'll clear my console out. I still have access to my age though, and that still works. And the way that I got to that is I just hit the up arrow one time. So if I keep going up, I can go back and see all the things that I've done. So I'm going to clear it one more time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable that's going to house a function, and I'm going to name my function, I don't know, let's see, what's a fun function? We could do, say, happy birthday. Maybe this is a method, or a function I should say, maybe this is a function that I run in my application if my app recognizes that it's the user's birthday when they log in. So I have this app or this function called say happy birthday, and it's going to follow slightly different syntax than the regular variable. So we have a declaration here of var followed by the name of the function, and we're going to follow that with an equal sign. So this should look familiar. Little different is we're going to have a set of parentheses which will house arguments, which we'll talk about a little bit later. followed by something so lovingly called a fat arrow, and an opening curly brace or a left curly brace. You probably won't hear left curly brace very often. You'll probably hear opening more often than not, but it is technically the one on the left. So a left curly brace. And then I'm going to hit enter one time, and it's going to put me to the next line. And also it's going to give me a nice little indentation here, so I can see all of the information that's going to be nested inside of this little block of code. So what I want Happy Birthday to do is I wanted to alert the user the words Happy Birthday. So I have the word alert, which is a built-in function in JavaScript. It's basically like a protected word that tells the JavaScript, hey, I'm about to have an alert show up on the page, so pay attention. After your alert, you have a pair of parentheses, which is telling the JavaScript program, this is what I'd like you to put up on the page. And then inside of that, we have some quotes that house the thing that we'd like to say. And it's very important that these things are inside of quotes. After this, I'm gonna hit, excuse me, enter one more time, and I'm gonna close my function. So I have an opening curly brace here, which is saying, from this point on, I'd like you to run all of the things inside of my curly braces. And when I close it, it's the end. So this one line of code will run when I call this say happy birthday. So I built out my cute little function. It's very sweet. It's going to tell me something nice. And I hit enter or return, depending on what computer you have. So now this container called say happy birthday is kind of existing in the background in my JavaScript program, and it's just waiting to be called on. In order for me to run this function, I need to call it. And the way that I do that is just the same as when I called my age. I just type out say happy birthday. The only difference with this is that I need to add a set of parentheses at the end. Think of this parentheses as a call to action for your function. With regular variables that don't include any functionality or logic, you can just call the variable name. But since this is specifically a function and I want it to run some operations, I have to add this parentheses at the end. And I'm going to hit enter, and look, I get this cute little alert that says happy birthday. Fun. How's everybody feeling so far with functions? If we had more time, we could go into all of what these syntactical pieces mean, but if we're feeling good, that's great, because I'm going to add one more layer of complexity to this. And it's going to be something called arguments, which I was briefly explaining when I set up this, this function. So initially I said that I'd like this function to call out to somebody on their birthday when they log into the page. So I think what I'd want to do is maybe make it a little bit more special, and I would want it to say their name as well. So rather than happy birthday, I'd want it to say happy birthday Sarah, or happy birthday TJ, happy birthday Drew, whatever. We want it to be whoever logs in is going to get some special bit of information thrown at them, which is an alert. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create another variable that's going to house the information of our user's name. No, it's okay. I'm actually going to skip that step and make it a little bit easier. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rewrite this function to include an argument. So what's the first step I need to do when I create a function? What's the first step? You feel free to yell it out. The first thing that I'm going to want to type is my declaration of my function as a container, essentially, and I'm going to be using var. Since I'm rewriting this initial function, I'm just going to use the same name. Say happy birthday. Now, after my equal sign is my set of parentheses, and this parentheses is going to house whatever it is, whatever outside information my function needs in order to operate effectively. And whatever I put in this parentheses is simply a placeholder for the actual information that it's going to be receiving when I call it. And that might sound kind of conceptual at the moment, but we'll walk through exactly what that means. So I'm gonna just write the word name. Now I'm gonna put my fat arrow, my opening curly brace, and I'm gonna do a new alert. Inside of my parentheses, I'd like to be able to use the person's name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pair of quotes that says happy birthday, and then I'm going to add name. Should probably put a space in here too. And I'm going to add a set of exclamation marks. So this placeholder of name, whatever it is that I pass into this function, that placeholder will be represented in this final sentence that we see. Let's close that out. Now, when I run say happy birthday, instead of leaving this empty, I'm going to pass in a name. I'm telling this function what word to use in the alert. So let's do Sarah. And we get happy birthday, Sarah. It's not your birthday today, right? So the way that this works, kind of the journey of our argument is that upon calling the function, we send in a bit of information, which is the word Sarah. This travels nice and far up 4 lines of code into this set of parentheses here, which is basically telling the function, hey, this is some outside information that you're going to need in order to work properly. So take this word and save it to be used later. And the time that it is used a little bit later is here inside of our alert. So we're able to say happy birthday plus Sarah as a placeholder plus exclamation marks. And the beauty of functions is that they're reusable. So I could rerun this with a different name. And I get happy birthday, TJ. Could do another one. Let's do Ricky, my dog. Happy birthday, Ricky. So I can reuse this functionality over and over again with as many different names as I want, which makes it pretty awesome. A big thing in coding is something you'll hear that's called dry coding, which means do not repeat yourself. So if I found myself writing this function over and over again because I wasn't using an argument, it might be time for me to rethink my process to make it easier for myself. Another thing that you hear a lot is that developers are lazy. We don't want to have to keep writing things over and over again. We want to write it as effectively and efficiently as possible so that we don't have to repeat ourselves. So what we'll do is we're going to put you guys in, I think 1 or 2 breakout rooms, probably 2 breakout rooms. And you guys are going to work independently in your own Chrome console, but work with each other to kind of work through the challenges that we're going to send you guys in the chat. So you'll be able to bounce ideas off each other and communicate and do everything kind of together so that you can work through the challenges that we send out. And you'll also have either Sarah, Andy, or I in your breakout room with you to bounce ideas off of as well. But before that, does anybody have any more questions about functions? We are going to be sending out a link, like I said, with a challenge at the bottom, but above it is going to be something that very, very closely resembles our syllabus. So it's going to kind of break down all of the things that I just said, give you a couple other examples to kind of read and digest. And at the very bottom is going to be your challenges. So I highly recommend kind of reading through that section first and before you get started on anything coding in the actual Chrome console. Great. I'm going to stop sharing. And I think TJ's the host, but do you mind putting together some breakout rooms for me, please, while I get the link?
Oh, I stuck it in the chat while you were talking because I thought
Oh.
it might be helpful for people to follow along.
That is helpful. Thank you.
I'll repost.
I made you a co-host, Sarah.
So only the host can do breakout rooms. So
Okay.
I can walk you through it, or
I can make you the host.
okay. We are breakout room pros here in our virtual environment.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody. I hope that was fun and interesting. And if you didn't quite get through all of the challenges, you're welcome to use that link that we sent out and kind of follow the examples to maybe try it again a little bit later. But yeah, that's kind of how a typical session will be. It'll be a lecture followed by some challenges, and then we'll kind of ping pong back and forth between adding on to our concepts, starting small, making it more complex as we go, and giving you guys a chance to kind of practice with other people. But yeah, I'll hand it back to Sarah then.
Awesome. Did you guys have any questions about like any of the challenges or about anything that we've talked about tonight? Just what you want to know about the class? Have you guys taken like online classes before? Yeah, Daniel, I feel like the same way. Like, I feel like I'm definitely not, I'm not someone who is really good at like setting discipline for myself. Like, I'll get really into something and then I'll just like go crazy on it. But I have to like I need someone to like give me that push or like just be like, hey, just sit down and do the thing. And so when I actually attended Learn Academy a long time ago. And so when I was looking for to learn code, I like tried to learn on my own a little bit, and I was like, I'm not good at doing this on my own. Like I get stuck on questions and I get like unmotivated, and like I don't discipline myself well to like really spend the time. And so I just needed someone like to hold me accountable. And I feel like in our virtual classroom, it's still very much like our in-person classroom, like where we expect you to be here and participating. And so I think it's sort of like the least online class of an online class that exists. So I'm curious because like some people really like the self-paced and that's like their goal, which is great. And I'm so like jealous of people who can discipline themselves in that way. But like for me, I just couldn't. And so I like having the structure.
I have a question, Sarah.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. It was me and Andy. But on regular days, it would be where it's me and another student, and then the teacher will check in. Is that how it would work?
Yep. Yep, we do different pairs every day because everyone brings a unique skill set and a different opportunity, a different voice, a different opinion on how to produce code. And so we change up the pairings for the most part every day. Occasionally we'll have longer multi-day projects that we're working on where you'll be with either a pair or sometimes a mob, which is a group of 3 for more than just one session. But typically you kind of bounce around a little bit to get a chance to work with lots of different people and train yourself in communicating about code with lots of different people, which is a challenge in itself and something that's a skill you have to learn. For the challenges, I'm looking at Drew's question in chat of like what are they, and like are you building smaller programs or usually just parts of programs? In the beginning, we do small challenges just like the one that we did today, and then they tend to build off each other. We spend the first 6 weeks of the course typically covering what I would consider smaller concepts. we have to learn all of the individual fundamentals of JavaScript, and then we learn the fundamentals of Ruby and the fundamentals of Ruby on Rails, fundamentals of Postgres and SQL, and so we do smaller challenges that focus on one technology. We'll do larger projects within that where, for example, our class recently spent 3 days building out several different projects in React, which is a JavaScript framework. So it was a front-end technology, but it's just one piece of the code, but they built out several different games. Like they built out a tic-tac-toe game and a treasure hunt game using React. And so that was like a larger project on our still smaller scale side of the class. And then for the second half of the class, we do larger projects where we build out 2 full stack applications, and then you move into your capstone project where you spend 2 weeks with a team building out like your project that you get to create and from start to finish, which is cool. So they do build on each other, but it's definitely like small challenges that focus on the concept that we're covering, and then we merge those into larger concepts. Do anyone else have any questions about class or about what we do here? I'm open to whatever. I was a student in the class once too, so I can speak to my experience there.
Me too.
Yeah, all of us were actually.
Well,
Any literature? The concept's easier. I don't know if easier is ever going to be the right word, but as far as like resources, yeah, right. The documentation, like I would say honestly, like Code Academy is a really good resource. I really like the MDN documentation for JavaScript is really, really good. I like the way that they break that down. The Ruby guide is awesome for Ruby as well. I don't know if you guys have any ones that come jumping off the top of your head, please throw them out, Rachel and Andy. Weirdly, like reading documentation is something that's nice to get used to, and you'll find like the certain docs that you like. Yeah, the Learning Academy syllabus, that's the goal, is hopefully that's a great documentation resource for you as well. And Daniel, for like, it's definitely the goal of software development. His question, sorry, I should start with that, is like, is there math involved or is it usually just logistics? I mean, ultimately the goal of development is that we're making the computer do these like thought processes for us. So like, I'm not necessarily a great like math person. Like I just studied social sciences in college, and like that was never like my forefront. But I think having an organized mind is maybe the more important thing, of being able to reason about your code and be able to logically work through a problem. There is some stuff that resembles math, and there are people with more STEM backgrounds who just, they get coding, like it just makes sense to their brain, which is great. But there's lots and lots of people who are not like that. There's a lot of people who are more interested in the process. There's a lot of people who are interested in the design side who are very successful developers. So it doesn't require it necessarily, but I think having an organized mind is definitely needed. And as far as other resources, there's a lot of games like Code Wars, and there's one I just was looking at the other day too, that like you move through like a series of challenges that get harder and harder, which is kind of a fun way if you can like gamify any of your learning. I'm always a big fan of that. Nice. Oh, Edabit, good call. Edabit is great. They have you can select your level of experience, as well as any kind of fundamental that you want to focus on. So you could be like, oh, I want to learn about arrays, or like I'm interested in Ruby objects, and they'll put up challenges for you specific to those skills that you're looking to build, which is great. And yes, Flexbox Froggy, huge fan of that. Love it. Those last problems are challenging for sure. And it's super, like, it's a great way to learn Flexbox. Because there is a joke about developers that like it was easier to put a man on the moon than to center something on a page like long ways. But I think playing around, like for me, it's almost like creating my own challenges is some of the ways that I learn best. It's like I, follow someone's instructions or do a do a code challenge that was either on Edibit or that I'm preparing for the students, and then it's like, okay, that works, but what if I want to do this one more thing? What if I want to make it one level more complicated? Like how can I do that, and how can I go about it? And to me, that's where I like push myself a lot, and it forces you to like figure out what the question is, even when you're trying to look at those particular problems. All right, well, let's finish our time together by doing the opposite of check-in. Let's do a check-out. And I will, before that, I will share my screen so we can just look at a couple of options for next steps moving forward, and then we can check out and be done with our night. So one moment here. So next steps, if you're interested in learning more about coding, you can reach out to Learn. I know a couple of you have already, which is fantastic. We're super happy to have you around for other events and other activities that we're doing at Learn, but you can reach out on our website and schedule our virtual tour or a virtual interview with Lisa or Chelsea. You can also apply on our website. We've got our Delta cohort, which I know a couple of you guys are already enrolled in, which I'm super excited about. We're also doing an additional cohort in November. And then we start our new cohorts every couple of months. So if that one doesn't work for your schedule, there'll be another one in 2021. And then we also have some financing options for the cohort as well, if that's something that you need in order to make the transition into web development.
And Jumpstart, Sarah.
Oh, and Jumpstart. Sorry, go ahead. You should talk about Jumpstart.
So Jumpstart is super fun. It is a weekend-long mini boot camp where we make a fun application that it's like a game essentially that you can send to your friends and family when you're all done with it. But we go over fundamentals of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS over the course of 3 days, well, really more like 2.5 days. And it's super fun. You get to meet some of your classmates. You get to get a lot more time with the instructors, meet some of the administrators if they can make it. But it's just a lot of fun. And is a really great option for a couple of things. One would be preparing for the full-time course. It really helps you to feel really secure in that first week when we cover JavaScript, or people who are just kind of curious about coding to see if it's the right choice for them. Kind of like today, we talked about functions and all of these things that usually we don't talk about even on the first day of class. So it's a much more in-depth look at that sort of stuff. But it's a lot of fun. That's my main takeaway, is that it's fun. So that's an option as well. And the next Jumpstart is, if I can get my calendar up fast enough, TJ, you might know it faster than me.
Yeah, TJ, feel free to jump in.
August 7th through the 9th.
Thank you. August 7th through the 9th is our next Jumpstart. So it's Friday afternoon from 5 to 9, and then 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. But I'll be there. I teach that weekend. Sarah will probably be there because she always comes to help out. Andy will probably be there. You'll get to meet some alumni or people who are currently in the program, and you can pick their brains as well, kind of see what it's all about. That's it.
TJ, did I miss anything on our
No.
on my wrap up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we always do free workshops and free events. I saw some of you guys at our last one on Saturday, so that was great to see you there. So I would just always keep an eye on our meetup page for other events. We have one coming up from our alumni this Friday from 12 to 1. It'll be talking about error messages and how they can be more of your friend rather than your enemy. We talked about applying to the full-time class, so that'll be just, I know some of you in the application process, but for those that have not applied yet, that's kind of the next step from here. And then, yeah, other than that, I think we kind of touched everything. So I do appreciate you all coming. This has been a fun event.